Welcome to another episode of the Well Life Podcast, where we connect with individuals across what we have determined to be the 8 dimensions of wellness.
Yeah, today we have on James Brady. He's the owner of Elite QB and coaches hundreds of quarterbacks across Long Island. So, thanks for coming on.
James,
Thanks for having me.
I know
guys.
you're
Really
busy,
happy to
brother.
be
We
here.
appreciate you taking some time to talk with us. We kind of like started out just kind of hear your story, right? How'd you kind of get to where you are? Give us a little breakdown of you, who you are, and kind of what you're doing now.
For sure. Well, first I want to say, anytime I see guys that are passionate and about doing things for the betterment of other people, doing it the right way, I'm all about it all the time. So I'm very grateful to be here and happy to be a small part of what you guys are up to. So
Appreciate that.
love what you guys are up to. Thank you for having me. So played in high school, played at St. Anthony's High School, had a really good high school career, championships, scholarships, that whole deal.
This is also very humbling. I feel like this guy's he's the man here.
Scholarships.
On Long Island. Yeah.
Every kid's dream.
Yeah, so the high school career went, how it couldn't have gone any better. It's what I always dreamed of. And went on to play at Georgetown University for 2 years, transferred to University of New Hampshire. That's where I really experienced a lot of adversity and, not playing as well as I would have liked, getting benched, getting injured, just really things not going how I dreamt. Which I see it silver lining now, gave me a lot of ammunition and things to learn from and pull from to help me where I am now. But when I was in high school, my senior year at St. Anthony's, one day I was outside with my buddy JB, D-back, tossing the ball around, and this guy just pulls up in front of my house and he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but are you James Brady?" I was like, "Yeah, what's up? How can I help you?" And he was like, "Hey, my name's Frank. I live down the block. I have 2 sons, Don and Derek. They're 7 and 11 years old. We literally come to all your games, home and away. They love watching you play. I just found out you live down the block. Would you mind tossing the ball around with them for a couple minutes?"
Cool.
I was like, "Of course. Head over there." And first just messing around and just kind of naturally started teaching them a couple things, how to hold the ball, how to stand, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And they were having so much fun and getting visibly better, and I was absolutely loving it. I just felt like a fire and a passion. Some feeling I'd never experienced before. Doing that with them, so much fun. Go to leave, shake the guy's hand, and he was like, "Hey, I wasn't anticipating doing this, but watching that from the kitchen window, how much fun they had and how much visibly better they got in that hour." He goes, "Let's do this 3 times a week. I'll give you X amount an hour." And I went home and told my dad, I was like, "I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life."
Yeah.
So that set me on this path of quarterback development, playing myself, and then just a synchronistic opportunity that ever since, every minute of every day has been full blow to make this happen. And people thought I was crazy for a while, leaving Georgetown, transferring from an incredible academic school to pursue a degree in physical education. So that was my plan. I'm gonna get my degree to be a gym teacher, so that when the kids are on break, summers, weekends, after school, I'm on the same schedule as them. It will give me a lot of time to work with them and also support myself while I grow the business.
Yeah.
So did that for 4 years after I graduated.
You were a gym teacher.
I was a gym teacher.
Okay.
I taught health and phys ed at Long Island Lutheran High School. Shout out to Lou High, Coach Reno there.
Yeah, not a bad high school to be at.
Oh,
for sure.
absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Have you've been?
Yeah, for sure.
It's stunning. It's gorgeous, an incredible place, an incredible community. And Coach Chris Reno, gave me an opportunity there to teach and coach. So I was able to support myself as we built the business. Did that for 4 years, and then it was in 2016 where we got to a place in time where I had to make a decision, right? I was teaching from 7 a.m. to 2, training kids from 3 to sometimes midnight.
Yeah.
1 kid at a time. I was working 2 full-time jobs, killing myself.
Capped out.
And I just had to make that decision. I'm like, okay, we're going to go all in on the business and quarterback training. And then once that decision was made, we haven't looked back.
I love it.
That's incredible, yeah.
There's such I think a big undertone there where it's, and I kind of live by this, luck is when preparation meets opportunity, because 9 times out of 10, right, that guy could have pulled up, and maybe if you weren't in the right headspace because you were still going through maybe a transition was right and you're not prepared to go say, "Yeah, I want to go throw a ball with your kids,"
Right.
You could have said no, right? And you never get that opportunity to feel what you felt in that moment and say, "Hey, this can be a business opportunity for me," right? So I think that's such a big underline there where it's just the opportunities come to us, but you have to be ready for them.
1,000%.
And that's kind of when it all kind of comes together.
1,000%. And that's something I really try to harp on with the kids and the training, is because it's all energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
What we put in is what we get out. Just by doing something small every single day, that's affecting your mindset, your self-esteem, your belief in yourself. That even if it's not the hardest, most effective work, if you're doing something not every day, but if you're doing something consistently, yes, it's building the skill set. Yes, it's building the fundamentals, all that, of course. But more than anything, it's putting you in that mental and energetic space to be open and ready to receive whatever crosses your plate. If you're not taking care of business, if I'd been messing around, not on top of my own stuff at that point in time,
exactly,
not feeling confident in myself, it's like, maybe next week, like
there's no basis at that
exactly.
point. It's gone.
If your stuff is on point, then you're ready and open to any and everything.
Yeah, that's a good story too for your athletes, because that's right. And I think there's an underline there too, where you're like, that's not the story of you getting the opportunity to go be QB1 and go win the game for the team. But that dad, he gave you a chance to go start, and you had to be ready, right? If he wasn't confident with the way that you were throwing the ball with them, or you didn't take that serious, that opportunity, nothing happens there, right?
Yeah.
You don't get to make a couple extra dollars there, and you don't kind of get that mindset change of saying, oh, I can actually get paid for this thing that I love doing.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
And touch on that a little bit more. With the kids, always, this is where we are, this is what we're doing, right? Nothing else exists. We don't have control over anything else other than this rep. I like to say one breath, one rep. Like, that's all we got.
Love that.
And because I was present with those kids and I was locked in and just doing the best I could in that moment, what felt right, that's what created the opportunity. And I remind myself of that a lot. I was in a personal development kind of group a few years ago, and we're on this retreat in Tulum, and I'm sharing some stories on how we've built and grown just over the breakfast table, and a woman was listening, and she asked me, I had just been telling this story how of our first ever, or really our second group workout ever, no one showed up. There was nobody there. And I was telling everybody how I still went through the practice plan and the lesson plan, and she came over and she asked me, she was like, how were you able to stay confident and nobody showed up and you still went through the process?
It's almost like insanity, right?
It's right. It's crazy, right? And it brings me right back to that first day. It's like, no matter who shows up, no matter how many there are, no matter what the skill level and talent is, that's who's there for you, wanting to learn from you. All you can do anytime is give them the best you got right then and there. And that's where we see that our business is at now, is simply a byproduct of me doing that for 15 years every single day.
Nonstop.
Yeah.
Whoever's in front of me is getting my absolute best. Nothing else in the world exists. All I want is what's best for them right then and there.
Yeah, it's like you become what you consistently are.
Exactly.
And really interesting, right? I know we're all athletes, former athletes, right? Me being a baseball guy, but same thing. There was this weird kind of moment not one moment, but a stretch out of months of a moment kind of in college of got cut twice, right, from the D1 program because I was a walk-on, had injuries in high school, and then I was like, oh, I'm friends with some of the guys now on the football team, but they're asking me for workout advice. They're seeing certain things, right, in senior year, and started to look for what was my post-college career going to be like, right? And there's that moment of wait a second, what do I want to do? How do I transition everything and switch all of these things? But you don't realize it then. Now looking back, it's one straight line of stuff that makes sense.
It
but
seems
when you're
obvious
there,
now.
yeah, what in the hell was I doing?
Right.
And couldn't matter what my parents were thinking, right? And it's interesting what you go through when you kind of just pull yourself and you're like, no, this is what I'm doing. This is just what I do every day because it's my brand. I'm in the gym, not getting paid to work out and help random people because they're coming up and asking questions. And it's like, oh, wait, okay. Now this is real. This is what I'm just going to do because I'm here. And
it's who you are.
It's like our preach of wellness is, it's a constant, ever-evolving, daily pursuit of who we are and what we do.
Right.
And what you're going through.
So how do we share that and answer people's questions that we know are going to come up because they're not 100% embodying that, but they want to maybe for themselves, or they want to find the pieces that they're missing, right?
Right.
Really interesting.
I'd love to hear a little bit about, right, because everyone grows,
Right.
right? So kind of being a 21-year-old transferring,
Yeah.
right? And coming from a place where you were, right? We all had times where you're best player on your team, maybe the best player on Long Island at a time, right?
Yeah.
And feeling like that, right? That's a very high coming. I tell anyone I know that's going to play college football at any level that you're going back to you're on
You're
JV,
humbled
right?
quick.
You're going to be humbled. These guys have been here for years, right?
Right.
You got to bring yourself back down. You're going from being the best player on your team to now not being the best player on your team until maybe you do become that, right? But know that it's going to be a challenge. But mentally, right, going from that stage of coming from the high, right? You probably won, right, best quarterback on Long Island award, right?
Came in second. Rob Calabry. Shout out Rob.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
Coach for the
great player. But I always remember that, right? I always remember. Yeah. And Calabry's still in the game, right?
Somehow I came in second for the Hanson too and lost to a different guy. So I don't know how that works, but it's okay.
Yeah, we're not going to say his name. No. But going from that mindset, right, of being at such a high level, having to bring yourself back down, reevaluate, transferring schools, what was that process like for you, and kind of how do you deal kind of with if similar things, right, kind of currently, what's that mindset change for you?
Sure. So it was my first real bout. So at Georgetown, I went from being the guy on Long Island, and the big reason I went to Georgetown is because I knew I had an opportunity to play right away, and that was my goal. And looking back, what I share with a lot of guys now is, hey, careful what you wish for. Sometimes it might be what's best for you, but in my opinion, at that level, for a lot of guys, there's a very steep learning curve.
Yeah.
And going into it, and I was going in with that mindset of, okay, I'm going to be the guy, I'm going to kind of be the savior, turn the program around. Like was a big reason of why I went there. And I did get the opportunity to play right away. And a couple highs in the beginning, but mostly lows. I struggled, right?
Yeah.
Did not play great most of the time. And it was really my first, in my athletic career, my first real bout with adversity of not just being
just
the
winning.
guy, just playing well, winning a lot of games. And I struggled through it. I did not handle it well. I wanted to transfer after my freshman year. I was just looking for a different experience. It's just nothing against the university and the program and the staff. It wasn't. I envisioned my Division I football experience to be like. Even though I was playing, wound up getting hurt. I tore my labrum. I just wasn't happy there overall. The school, what I was studying, the program. So I wanted to transfer. After my freshman season, I wasn't positive. I was like, I am just starting. Like, there's a lot to be said. I should probably stay. I wound up staying, and then my sophomore year, I got benched. 2 games in, I believe, got benched for freshman, and Isaiah, he was awesome. He deserved it. I wasn't playing well, and I didn't know what to do. I was like, okay, I go from being, like you were saying, top of the top to all of a sudden now being benched. Like that's never happened in my whole life.
Yeah,
I didn't know how to handle it, and quite frankly, I didn't handle it well.
Yeah.
Looking back, I wish I would have done things a little bit differently, but I did. I handled it how I handled it, and wound up deciding to leave the team so I could transfer and save year of eligibility. And that was a very, very, very tough period of my life, just personally, as a human, mentally, emotionally. The decision to transfer wound up being the best thing I ever did, because what I was able to learn at the University of New Hampshire and the people I met and the experience I had was absolutely incredible. But how that period of time, my struggles at Georgetown and transferring, has really shaped a lot of what we do now. Is I make sure the kids know mistakes are not only okay, they're encouraged, right? So I had the blessing, and I also see a curse, of being naturally talented and working very hard and having a lot of success from a young age on. Right? Like from the moment I was like 11, I had a growth spurt, and I was biggest, fastest, strongest. Like I worked harder than everybody else, that's the truth, but I also had a lot of natural talent. So I experienced a lot of success. And not experiencing adversity in a young age, not learning how to overcome obstacles and deal with failure, and I tell the kids, the sooner you start to lose games, the better. That's what youth football is for. That's my opinion. That's my take. Is like a perfect season, 500. You win some, you lose some, throw some touchdowns, throw some interceptions.
Yeah,
Perfect. Like, because it's all part of the game. You got to learn how to deal with it. And that's a big part of our program. I say mistakes are not only okay, they're encouraged. You're here to make all the mistakes because you're going to. So the sooner we can learn to use them to our advantage to help us accelerate our growth, the better. So, Jocko Willink, right? A big thing I took from him is make a mistake in your head, good. Or say it out loud, good. And make a mistake, good. That's going to put us in the mental space to now observe and be aware of, what am I feeling? What did I just experience? What did I just feel?
Yeah.
To gain more awareness of what we're currently doing, fundamentally, that's creating the mistakes, the missed throws, whatever, so that we can learn from that. And now in the next rep, start to work to make an adjustment. And the sooner we learn to do that and the more consistently we do that, by nature, the faster we grow. Because kids nowadays, I'm working with primarily teenage boys. They throw a bad ball. When they first show up, it's
Yeah, it's like the worst thing that's ever happened.
Exactly, at the end of the world. I'm like, hey, come over here. If you learn nothing else from me and from your time here, it's going to be to learn how to use your mistakes and failures to your advantage. Because no matter, I tell them all the time, I don't care if you ever throw a touchdown pass. I don't. What I care is that you prepare yourself mentally and emotionally and spiritually to take on any task, any endeavor throughout the course of your life. And you're well equipped with the tools and the knowledge and the skill sets to give yourself a chance to be successful in whatever walk of life you choose.
Yeah.
Love that. Because the only thing that we can guarantee, right, for especially young men, is that you will face adversity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. It's just how you get through it
Right.
will be your test, right? And will be your and will be whatever you achieve, right? What comes out at the end of that? What do you learn from it? How do you grow?
Right.
Love the kind of some of that you spoke through. Give us kind of how you go through training your athletes, right? The mentality. Love to hear about some the flow state that you talk about with them, the breath work that I kind of saw some videos that you were taking kids through during COVID, right? Breath work training. We'd love to hear some of that as well.
Sure. Glad you asked. This is the good stuff. So we have what I call the standard, and it's our standard way of operating mentally more than anything. And this standard is 4 words. It's intention, focus, detail, and effort. So, we talk about it every single session. And it's just 4 words that I've found, if you take a successful person in any endeavor, everyone has these things in common. Usually all 4, if not all 4, most. And it's their way of behaving consistently when they're working on their craft. Intention, doing things with purpose and on purpose. Focus, all of your awareness, attention, and concentration directed to the task at hand. Detail, paying attention to the little things. And then effort, just doing your best. And when we talk about the mindset development and our approach in the workouts, the kids are constantly reminded of these 4 things. And for me as a coach, yes, there's a lot of fundamentals, that the footwork, the throwing motion, it's such an intricate movement. The movements, the decision making, all the things that go into quarterbacking. Of course, we coach that. But for me, looking at the kids, it's very easy to see when there's a lack of intention, focus, detail, or effort. And it doesn't matter what skill set we're working on or the instruction I'm giving them or the cues that I'm using, if they're not freaking listening, if they're not paying attention, if they're not here, right? So I've found placing a huge emphasis on our intention, our focus, our detail, and our effort to be an accelerant in the kids' growth for sure. And now more than ever, why we talk about flow state and breath work, which I'll dive into in a second. I think the kids having to go through COVID, it created an epidemic in terms of, I think, the entire society, but especially young people's ability to focus and concentrate. I truly believe our ability to focus is a superpower. It's a skill, right? I think that a lot of people don't understand that. It's like, well, I can't focus. It's like, well, I can't lift 450 pounds
Yeah.
because I haven't been on the bench.
Yeah.
It's the same deal. Focusing is a skill, and it's a skill that you can eventually train and nurture and develop enough to become a character trait.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm telling these kids all the time is like, focusing is a skill. And if you can direct your focus and attention to the task at hand, now you can put your best in and get the most out of whatever you're doing, whenever you're doing it. And that's where meditation comes into play. How I got into meditation was my own mental health issues from my struggles at Georgetown is where it all started. It all comes full circle.
Fucking Georgetown.
Yeah. but thank God.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like,
It brought us here today.
Thank you. Like
Yeah.
if I didn't experience the mental struggles and the adversity that I went through, and then even at New Hampshire and after school, I experienced depression severely. And I had to find answers. And meditation, breath work, and yoga, quite frankly, saved my life. And at that period of time, when I came across them, it was for my mental health and my own state of being. And then the more I started doing it, the more I started practicing, the more I started to realize, I'm like, I think these are directly connected. Like any kind of development, quarterback development in particular, and mindfulness, breathwork, meditation, yoga, mindfulness in general. And that's where I, just in my studies and research and everything, I came across what we call flow state, which I'll dive into in a minute. But back to meditation. Meditation, I think it gets a bad rap. The stigma around it, most people either think it's, I don't want to say most people, but a lot of people think it's like, okay, you got to be wearing a white robe on a mountaintop, and like it's a very spiritual thing, which exists. And a lot of people think that this is what screws people up. So if you're listening, please pay attention. They think the goal is to clear your mind.
Yeah.
Well, that's damn near impossible.
Yeah, it's like the goal is nothing.
Exactly.
But,
Right. But that's not it. The way I teach meditation is we are simply retraining our ability to focus and direct our attention. So the way it works is you have a focus point. So meditation is the practice of focusing, directing your focus. Focus point, most often the breath. But you can do something visual. You can do a candle. You can walk and count your steps. If you can focus on it, you can meditate on it. But say we're sitting down, focusing on our breath. So we have our focus point. Now, every time we notice our mind become active, the goal is to simply notice, redirect our focus back to our breath. And every time we do, the way I teach to the kids that makes sense to them, every time you notice and come back, that's a rep. That's a rep that's making your ability to direct your focus and attention a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
And that's the practice. So like a lot of people think, well, I can't do it. I sit down, my mind goes crazy, and like I can't clear my mind, I can't meditate. So when the mind is more overactive, I say, good, you got a lot of reps today. Like that's a good practice. So that's where meditation comes into play, is for the kids to be able to focus. And the kids that have bought into it, there's not as many as I hope at the moment, but I'm working on things to grow that. But the ones that have, man, I have no other way to say it. They have a glow about them. They have a presence about them, how they show up and how they just are as kids. And I know that this is a big part of their life. Obviously, yes, how they practice and work out and train and play and the quarterback thing. It's like, yeah, they're friggin' rocking all that. But just how their state of being, they're experiencing life much more fully than I see a lot of their counterparts, because they're here.
Yeah.
So that's how kind of meditation and quarterbacking and focusing, it all kind of comes together. But what I think makes the most sense of it is what we call flow state. So anyone who's ever played sports or anything really, if you've ever been in the zone, that's what flow state is. And flow state is defined as a state of consciousness that's defined by being completely present, focused, confident, and relaxed, fully immersed in the task at hand, where you feel your best and perform your best. So that's where, and it's your optimal state of being, right? where you can do no wrong. It's like everything is moving in slow motion. You're confident, you're decisive, where you're operating at your highest capacity. So my belief is that we can learn to structure and organize our lives to prepare for, access, and recover from flow daily.
Mm-hmm.
We can live in this state of being, whether we're sitting here on a podcast, or I'm doing homework, or a quarterback training, or I'm lifting. Flow is accessible to us. Now, here's where I was saying the epidemic of COVID and the kids and their focus and their attention. The definition of flow state is present, focused. Those are the first two words. Well, the technology completely destroys presence and focus. Like,
Mm-hmm.
look at, you go out to dinner and people are on their phones. People are driving down the highway
Yeah.
on their phones. It's
Yeah.
like, holy, you know?
Yeah.
So we, I think, as a society are currently at the lowest caliber of presence and focus. So if we do not have the ability to be in the present moment, be where we are, do what we're doing, we don't have the ability to focus and direct our attention, we are leaving loads of potential behind, because we can't possibly be putting our best in or getting the most out of whatever it is that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just want to be great at something, you got to do one thing at a time, over and over and over again, the best you possibly can. And that's what kids are struggling with, is their ability to focus, direct their attention, and be fully here. And that's why I'm such a big advocate for meditation, because it trains their ability to be present and focused. And if they can be present and focus better, they can train better. They can train better.
Yeah.
They can play better. They play better. They get more, and it's all connected.
Yeah.
But it comes right back to, hey, here we are,
Mm-hmm.
right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why that's how I see it's all connected.
That's interesting. Yeah, you're almost teaching like an intangible concept that
Yes.
I feel it, but I almost didn't realize it.
Yeah.
It's like while I'm in a training session, how do you deeply get ingrained in that session and kind of fall in love with being right there,
Yeah.
right? Anything I'm doing, right? It's almost like that intangible sense, but you're putting it into words and action and finding a way to train that
Yeah.
state, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
It's like, it is the work. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
like I as commonplace as lifting weights is
Mhm.
now currently, I believe what I'm currently discussing
Totally.
is going to be, I'm going to the gym and
Yeah.
doing my mindfulness, breath
Yeah.
work, whatever that is.
Yeah.
It's going to be very commonplace.
I like
soon. It's
the
coming.
process that you're using of making it also quantifiable.
Yeah, it's cool how you made sense
Make
of
it a rep.
right?
Yeah, it's a
Like,
rep, right? Because I think we've spoken
Yeah.
internally and with other people about meditation as well, and it's trying to get people to understand that concept, right? That it's not the act of being fully removed from everything, all the stress and everything in your life, but being able to bring yourself back to focus.
Right.
Like that is just the act of meditation.
Yeah.
So, but now being able to tell someone that is a rep, right? Just like you were doing 3 sets of 10 on bench,
Exactly.
right? You're doing, that's one rep. Just bring it back, and forever, however long you feel like you can do that,
Right.
kind of stay in it. Right?
Yeah.
But that's it. Let
And
that be
and
the
beautiful
work.
part about it is every moment of every day is an opportunity to
True.
practice.
Mhm.
If
Mm-hmm.
I'm speaking to you and I notice my mind start to think about what I'm going to eat for dinner,
Yeah.
notice come back.
Yeah.
And like you don't have to sit still
Yep,
and do
yep.
it. But that's been the challenge is, okay, I have been practicing these concepts. I understand
Mhm.
these more abstract ideologies. Now, how do I make it relevant to a 16-year-old macho kid
Mhm.
that's the
Yeah.
star athlete in the school?
Yeah.
And it reps. That's
Mhm.
been it.
Yeah.
It's also like part of it is like the stigma of just like ADD and ADHD statements about putting the label on a kid, where it's
Yeah.
like maybe it's a kid, right? He can't focus. A 10-year-old can't focus in a chair for 8 hours straight. It's like, yeah, no shit.
You try.
But
Yeah.
it's like there's no basis for the kid to be
Right.
taught, and it's like almost right when a game's going bad, or right, I was a pitcher, I'm still playing men's league and stuff, having fun, but you notice that you're chucking. When you're in flow state, you don't notice it.
Right.
It's just happening,
Yeah.
and you're doing it, and it feels good, and you're executing. But then if you're out of it, you're like, how do I find that thing again? How do I find that thing? It gets worse trying to find it almost. So
Right.
it's like, yeah, how
That's
do you
where you get-
quantifiably train it?
Well, that's where you get into the head.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
Rather than
the root of all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
A killer.
That great. You described that beautifully.
Yeah.
And therein lies the trouble and,
Yep.
and training. The tangible tools I share are either a centering thought or just your breath. Like that's what this tool is. It's a breathing tool.
Okay.
It's called Komosu's the brand, and more than anything for me, this serves as a reminder to breathe. And what it does is it naturally elongates your exhale. So elongated exhales lower our heart rate and bring our nervous system back to equilibrium. So a lot of what I think will help make sense of a lot of this is our mind and our body are directly connected. Thoughts affect emotions, emotions affect thoughts. So when you're pitching and you're not feeling it right away, what starts happening?
What's my hip doing? What's my arm doing? Why am I doing this? Why is the catcher there? How's this?
We
What's
get
this?
into the head,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We get into the head and we get out of our bodies, and we're not feeling, we're thinking. And that's not where you want to be when you're playing. The goal is to get out of your head and into the body and just feel and play and react.
Yeah.
And
but now you're gripping harder, your heart rate's up, you're more frustrated.
So there you go, heart rate's up, right?
Yeah,
Our breath, the breath is the tool. The breath, it's like if the breath is it. The way I describe it, especially when I'm teaching breath work, is okay, let's think about the power of oxygen for a second, right? We can go for days without food, right? We can go probably longer, right? Weeks without food, a couple days without water. How long can we go for oxygen before we're dead?
Yeah.
A couple minutes?
Yeah, exactly.
Total.
3 minutes.
Now think about that.
Yeah.
All day, every day, even when we're sleeping, we are breathing. Oxygen is called life force energy. It's quite literally what keeps us alive. So like, that's really friggin' powerful, right? So my whole thing with breath work is, okay, being we know how powerful it is, why do you think it would make sense to load up on this stuff? Might that be good for us?
Yeah.
Right. And that's breath work, which is another thing different than meditation. But with just the breath in general, when you notice you're in the head, connect to your breath. There's a process actually. It kind of gets you in the head for a second, but this is something I'd suggest for you if you're still out there pitching.
Yeah.
I call it the 3 R's: realize, release, recenter. Once you realize you're in your head, this is the practice of meditation. Notice, you realize you're in your head. What do we connect to? Our breath. Release those thoughts by connecting to your breath. Then you recenter by directing your focus to the task at hand.
Yeah.
So it's one breath, one rep. I take a breath. All I got is this pitch. I take a breath, relax. I take these deep breaths. My heart rate lowers. My nervous system relaxes.
Yeah.
And that's when we're playing at our best. And that's why I said the breath is the tool. It's just, so the more often you are practicing meditation and breath work, now you're out on the mound, the more readily accessible the byproduct is, the more readily accessible what you're looking for is. If you've never practiced any of these things, I say next time you notice you're in your head on the mound, take a breath. It'll be good that you do that, but what's actually going to happen? Probably not.
What are you
much,
doing? Yeah.
Right. But when your body is accustomed consistently throughout the day,
It'll just start resetting.
in for 4, out for 8. You do it once, now it resets.
Yeah.
And you're chilling.
That's interesting. It's almost like, I know you're probably going to say something before, but before you do, it's almost as a direct thing. It's probably bad to say because it's trying to describe what you just said very well, but kind of what I've formed myself as doing that is 2 walks in a row, 8 bad pitches, going everywhere, flying up in the zone, doing this to right. It's only obviously sports are the nearest and dearest, so that's the most direct example I can give.
Yeah.
I almost now seeing that my override is take a breath and don't care.
Yes.
Just do not care anymore because it's gonna you're
Who
gonna
gives a
throw
shit
a
mentality?
ball anyway.
Yeah.
And it's over.
So throw a strike.
Does all this
and
wanting
right?
to do so well, is that helping? No, I just threw
It's
8
like-
balls in a row.
Yeah, there's
How
no
about I say,
pressure
who gives a shit?
if you don't
Just rip it.
care, and then a heart rate
Exactly.
goes down. It's like nothing matters now anyway.
Exactly.
Boom, strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, right? That's really interesting in setting yourself up that way, kind of in life, to notice that. It's
Every
like, wait,
day.
why am I getting angry right now?
Right.
Don't care.
Yeah.
Someone might be angry next to me or I'm yelling at something. It's like, wait a second,
Honking
why am I
down the
caring
street,
right
yeah.
now?
Who cares?
But it's like finding that what's your next task as well as that, right? What's my next thing? 2-seam grip, throwing a strike right here. Don't care about if it's a strike or not. Just
There
do
you
it,
go.
right? And it's like, fine, right, for a quarterback. Don't care about what the hell just happened.
Yep.
script the ball,
Let it rip.
drop back, let it rip to the guy.
Yeah,
That's it. You're there.
And this is like you talk,
Yeah.
all the elite performers of the world have to have an elite mindset. This is mindset training. It's learning how your mind functions consistently, how it behaves. Now becoming aware of that, and then developing a couple of tools to equip yourself to be present, focused, confident, relaxed.
Yeah.
So it's what are the things that my mind is saying that makes me tense, that makes me care too much.
Yeah.
Because you throw a couple of balls, now it's like, am I going to get my scholarship? Are we going to lose? And it's like,
it starts
right.
to matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's the challenge is to become aware.
Yeah.
I like to say any and all change or growth begins with awareness.
Yep.
Once you're aware of your current patterns, now when they arise, you're equipped with the tools to override it and get yourself back to equilibrium.
Yep.
Rather than because that doesn't work.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that we speak about just wellness in general.
Yeah,
is that one thing you have to do is just check in with yourself consistently, right? Because again, things change in your life.
Just
you gotta
one
know
thing 4,000 times.
Yeah, exactly. If that's it, right? Because that may be your stressor, right? And you got to figure out what it is, and you got to figure out, okay, now I need to do something to solve this problem, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't know what your issues are, you don't know what's stressing you out, or what's that one thing that keeps coming into your head,
it's
right? Then you can never
downward
solve
spiral, and it's going to take on a life of its own. And with all of this stuff, what I share a lot that I think helps make sense of it for people is everything is energy. Our thoughts carry energy. Our words carry energy. Emotions are energy. I like to say emotions are energy in motion. Emotion. So learning how to first be aware of your energetic state, your thought patterns, what you're feeling emotionally, and then learning what practices reset your energy. That's the secret of the universe right there. It's like once you're aware of how you're behaving, how your energy's moving or not moving, and you learn how to move it to get energy flowing again, now you're in alignment, now you're centered, now you're calm, now you're present, now you're relaxed, now you're almost fucking superhuman.
Yeah.
And that's, in my opinion, because I mean I live it, that's the friggin' sweet spot. That's the goal for all of us, no matter what task we're attacking. If we are present, if we are focused, if we're confident, if we're relaxed, that's how we're going to rock and roll and put our best in and give ourselves the best chance to get where we want to go and learn from it along the way.
I mean, you're obviously dropping some gems for us here.
Like you tell, I'm passionate about this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it comes all so seamlessly, right? It's because you live it.
Right.
It's well studied and applied.
Practiced.
Yeah.
How do you actually live it within your own life, right? So we hear how you kind of tell the kids about it.
I was going to ask that actually next.
Yeah, and obviously it's ingrained in you. You're passionate about it. You know that it helps. How do you kind of incorporate these things in your life for your wellness and your own well-being?
And like in your personal and in business as well too, right?
Glad you asked. So
especially new kid.
Yes.
Right, big business.
The best. Shout out Atlas. Daddy loves you.
Yes.
To simplify, I'll expand, but to simplify, to start systems. So again, we're bringing it back to our ability to be present. And what I've found is putting systems in place. It's really time management, structure, however you want to put it, routines, habits. Putting systems in place so you know you have X amount of time to do whatever thing, and that everything is accounted for. All of my responsibilities throughout the week have their blocks of time that I know they are going to get done and are accounted for. So now when I am doing the dishes, I'm not anxious and worried about being able to get my posts done for social media because I know that time is accounted for. So that when I'm doing that, that's all I have to do. No matter what I'm doing, there's a system and there's a process in place. I also have to say, what's been a godsend to me is this kind of a mantra I remind myself of daily, every day, that's been very helpful, is fluidity within structure. Because with a kid, with a lot of kids, a lot of the communication I have with the kids is through text messages. There's, I have the predetermined systems in place, But when something pops up, not getting pissed that it's taking the time away. It's like, okay, well, this now needs my attention.
Yep.
This is what's happening now. The fluidity within structure has, and practice, I mean, I'm still trial and error, but years and years and years of trial and error of figuring out what works best for me. I'm now experiencing the most fluidity and the most evenly displaced energy I've had ever. From trial and error, figuring out when do I do my weekly schedule, what all that looks like, my system, my process, my structure, has made it very easy for me to be present.
Yeah.
And that's been the guiding force overall. So that's how it shows up in my life is I take the time every Sunday, I sit down anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour, depending on what's happening that week. And I plan my week out. It's really that simple, right? And then if anything I was supposed to get done Monday doesn't get done, I sit down for a couple minutes Monday night and I just make sure I reallocate that time. So I have my weekly strategy session, my power down ritual. Those are the two main things. Weekly strategy every Sunday, plan out the week. Power down ritual, at the end of every night, just a quick little check-in of what didn't get done that needs to get done. Now reallocate the time. So say I had to do X Monday morning, wasn't able to, I don't give it time somewhere else in the week to be accomplished. Now what's in my head as I'm going to sleep? Oh, that thing, I didn't do it. Now I wake up Tuesday. When am I going to do this now? Now what am I not? I'm not present. And because I'm past and future, I didn't do this. I have to do this. The worry, doubt, fear, stress, anxiety.
And the baby's crying in front
exactly.
of you.
Yeah. Worry, doubt, fear, stress, anxiety. They live in the past. They live in the future. They cannot live in the present. So that's how I've helped myself be present is with a strategy session and with a power down ritual. That's daily life and also my exercise habits and my own mindfulness practices. Two things that if I only do two things for myself, I actually should say three. If there are three things I do every day no matter what. A walk. I go for a walk. Walking is a great form of meditation. Gets my dog exercise. My son loves being outside. Gets me exercise. But that's a time for me to do nothing but walk. It's good for me. Good to get in the sun. Everybody enjoys it. It's good. I walk. I do at least bare minimum 10 minutes of breath work and meditation in the sauna. And then I take at least 30-second cold shower. Those are three like non-negotiables that I've found keep me centered and keep me present. In business, systems. I have different blocks of time throughout the week for different responsibilities. Mondays, I have my allocated time. Mondays, 1 o'clock, I'm sitting at my desk and I'm planning the workouts for the week. Tuesdays at 1 o'clock, I'm restructuring the workout based on how I went Monday. And I call them flow blocks, different blocks of time throughout the week that I'm doing all my different responsibilities, creating videos, replying to kids' text messages, doing breakdowns, sending feedback, all the things that are writing tweets, like all the things that are encompassed in my ecosystem, they are all accounted for. They all have their allocated periods of time. And like I was saying, the fluidity within the structure, I kind of have a list of, what's the word I'm looking for, priorities, where if these few things don't get done, that's cool. Like, don't sweat it. And these things have to get done, and those get displaced if necessary. So systems and processes has been a godsend, and fluidity within them.
I like the fluidity within structure. I had someone ask a question to me because I think high performers, there's always structure and habits and processes in place, because exactly to that point, I don't think you can be a high performer if you're stressing about things that you're not being able to accomplish. But someone asked me a question, right, about when your habits almost become a negative thing for you, because so if you can't get that thing done that's a positive habit for you, how do you feel right when that happens? So the walk can't happen, or the cold shower can't happen, right? And like because I know for me, right, I need that workout, or I need, right, that time,
Coach,
right?
you said this.
And I
I
know,
said this to you yesterday.
yeah,
quick, with
and so when
something,
I know when that happens to me,
yeah.
I'm not easily agitated, but that's
Yeah.
a time where I feel that.
You don't want to be around him.
Yeah, right. If I have a structured workout that doesn't happen, then my wife will tell you, like, that's like probably the time, the only time it'll kind of be on me. But then you gotta, right. I find myself in my head for a second. All right, I gotta get rid of that and do what I gotta do. How do you feel, right, in those moments when those things happen, and how do you kind of get yourself out of it?
Great question. I'm glad you brought that up, because what a lot of people don't discuss in the development space, it will tell you habits are good, routines are good. What a lot of people don't discuss is, okay, when you do set all these things up and you don't do it, that this is a skill set in and of itself.
Yeah.
The word I love is grace. Have some grace within yourself. Remind yourself of the fluidity. But I have something I say a lot that pertains to this exactly. It's my opinion from my experience that it's often the guilt and shame that we allow ourselves to carry about not doing what we said we were going to do that negatively impacts us moving forward. So the phrase I love, this is a mantra. A mantra is a simple phrase you can repeat over and over again, is every moment of every day is an opportunity to start anew if you need to. Just hit reset over and over and over again. Because if you don't get that structured workout in, now where are we at mentally? I didn't do this, I got to do it. And it's, now how's that impacting what you're doing now? Are you fully present? No, because you're thinking about what you didn't get done and how that's going to impact you moving forward. Now your whole day,
it's no good anyway.
You're not here.
Yeah.
So that's been my reset button, my mantra, my centering thought. If I didn't get my walk in, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'll do it again. I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's like, what good are these things that make you feel and operate at your highest level of wellness and well-being if
when you don't do
when
them,
they don't,
become
when they crash,
detriment. Yeah.
they're negative
Right.
anyways, right? So what's the reliance on them, on that obsessiveness and a negativity anyway?
And you can see that's again, I love the word reframing and just perspective, because all we're really ever in control of is what we're allowing ourselves to think. And if you're allowing yourself to think skipping that workout is affecting you negatively, well, how's it going to affect you?
Yeah, it
negatively,
will.
right? So we reframe it. Okay, I didn't get my workout. I know I'm pissed about it.
Yeah,
that's real. Okay, now reframe it into a positive. Well, here is an opportunity for me to practice giving myself some grace when I can't get done what I say I'm going to get done, and I'm going to move forward with presence and confidence anyway. So it's a practice in and of itself. Now you feel better about it because you're using it. As what I was saying earlier, mistakes are not only okay, they're encouraged as long as we're learning from them. So you can kind of, I call them like Jedi mind tricks. You can really trick yourself into thinking and feeling anything you want. Like that's the beauty of practicing mindfulness and meditation and noticing how your mind's behaving. It's like, well, I don't like thinking that, so I'm going to think this instead. And I have a little phrase, tell me what you think. I say, it is what you think it is. Whatever is happening here about the circumstance is what it is to you. So I believe we can create this superpower of like, okay, well, shit's blowing up, but I can use this to my advantage by now we're consistently moving forward with presence and confidence, being relaxed.
I think that's a very
question.
Completely.
Yeah.
So, and I think there was a lot of tools in there as well for people to be able to utilize. And as we're wrapping up, like one thing on that, I think it is a almost like an underlying summary of it too, is that everyone and people just become characters that they develop for themselves, right? And we talk about this a lot. So I'm someone that can't focus. I can't sit still. I can't read a book. I can't work out. And now I just become that person, right? So it's, how can I reframe this position and make myself these people that I'm trying to be in order to kind of increase my overall well-being or get to a place I'm trying to go to.
I'm overweight because my family's overweight.
We'd like to wrap up, right, with kind of what is wellness to you. Kind of, I think you gave a lot in there that falls in line with kind of how we define it, how we try to get people to think about wellness, but kind of if you, in a few words or however you want to define, like what do you think wellness is for you?
mind, body, spirit, understanding it's all connected, and living passionately and purposefully. And whatever avenue that is, I think being well is when you get to wake up every day enjoying what you're doing because you enjoy it, because it's good for you, and it gives you purpose. I think, and then all of the nutrition, exercise, the meditate, all of those things are just simply ways to keep us in alignment with living passionately and purposefully. You know that I have this purpose. This is what I'm here for. This is the work that I do. Well, to fulfill this purpose, here are the steps that I need to take to be able to live that way. And so kind of seeing it from a bigger picture, or starting with the end in mind, who you want to be and how you want to live on a day-to-day basis. What does that person look like?
Yeah.
How do they behave? Fill in the blanks.
Love
and
that.
Whatever that is to you, your meditation could be painting.
Yeah.
Your exercise could be kayaking.
Yeah.
Right? Like it doesn't have to be, it could be whatever you want as long as it's in alignment with who you believe is the best version of you.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think we could tell it better.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Appreciate you being here. I think that's quickly let people know, right, where they can find you.
Sure.
Where you want to send them.
Most active on Instagram and Twitter or X. You can find me at QB Coach Brady. Like to put a lot of stuff up there, mindset stuff that I believe in providing value. So give me a shout there, follow there, and hit me in the DMs. I'll hit you back. I'm happy to provide any, just be of service in any way, shape, or form. I got some good things coming out in the works. Some online courses that if people are interested in what we're sharing, things are coming that I think are going to be very helpful for a lot of people. So I thank you guys for giving me the platform to talk about this stuff.
Of course, man. And I didn't mention it, right? But if you've got any kids that's throwing a football, you're talking 59 all-state players, right? You got D1 quarterbacks all over the country.
The best, the best of the best. And I want to give a shout out to the kids. I hope you guys are listening. I choked up, but the reason people know who I am is because of how good the kids play. They're the whole thing. And there's kids they've bought literally since 7 years old. There's kids this year going to college I've known since they're 7, and they've bought in from day one, and they give me the opportunity to live my dream. So thank you, boys.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.